I have another knife review for you today, and we're looking at a Gen 4 Spyderco Endura. Alright, the difference is that this is the FFG model. Now, I'm reviewing this knife because I get a lot of questions all the time regarding the FFGs. Why are they, different? What makes them different? What does FFG stand for? And so on. FFG simply stands for full flat grind. Okay, all this means is that our blade has a full flat grind on it. Okay, I'm going to compare this to another knife that I've reviewed that you guys are very familiar with, one of my favorite EDC knives. This is a Spyderco Delica. This is a waved version. All right, but this will represent the old style of grinds. Okay, as you can see here, the blade is ground about midway, okay, from the spine. So the difference here is that when they're grinding these knives, they started here with this knife, and for this knife, they started up top. Okay, that's it. So essentially what happens here is you end up with the full flat ground blade is thinner. Okay, therefore it has more of a better performance. It's a better slicer because it's literally thinner. Okay, as we all know, a nice sharp edge is a thin edge. Now you can have a pretty abrupt edge that's sharp, but something like this compared to something like this, it'll never quite have the same performance as the thinner, leaner edge. All right, so I'm going to draw this real quick for people who are maybe new to knives. All right, if I were to take this knife and magnify this view for you, this is what the edge would look like. Okay, looks something like this. This is an extreme example. All right, basically this point right here, okay, is this point on the knife where the grind starts. All right, so this knife is very sharp, nothing wrong with it at all, but compared to this knife, the full flat ground blade, it looks like this. Okay, so we don't have this point. This point essentially is up here on this blade. This is where the grind starts, the very spine, the very edge or back of the blade here. Okay, so as you can see, this is literally a thinner blade than this. When you're cutting down into material, this has a wider angle than this. Okay, so there's less resistance. That's why people prefer the FFG versions. There's nothing wrong with this. This is a very awesome knife. It's very sharp. All right, and you can maintain that sharpness and perform as great. However, by geometry and science, this just works better. Okay, so that's why the FFG models are a little bit more preferred by the users out there. So besides that, to be honest, this knife is no different really than any other Endura generations. They did make the Spidey hole bigger. I think they went with 13 millimeters, which is slightly larger than the old ones. But I can't really tell the difference. It's just the Spidey hole. Works great. I have to say, this is a phenomenal knife to purchase. A lot of times people will ask me, all right, I'm getting into knives. What's the first knife? What's the best knife? What should I get? And as I've said a million times before, it's really hard to just blurt out one knife. There's so many good knives out there. And as much of a fan I am of like the Benjamin Griptilian, as well as a slew of other knives, there's kind of the basics. Now, if you go back 10, 15 years, people say, hey, what knife should I get for my first knife? People will either say a Benjamin Griptilian, or they'll say a Spyderco Endura, or similar. They may say mini grip or Delica because it's comparable. If you want a smaller knife, the Delica and or mini grip would be a good option. And the larger brothers, the Endura, and of course in the Benjamin case, a full-size Griptilian. These are just common suggested knives. There's a billion knives out there. There's knives that are better than this. There's knives that are worse than this. But this is a great place to start. If you prefer or think you prefer larger folders, okay, for like an EDC blade, an Endura of any kind would be an awesome, awesome knife to get for your first knife. These are still somewhat affordable. You'll find these anywhere from the $60 to $70 range. Now that's not a lot of money, okay? And all things put in perspective, if you're gonna get into the hobby of knives, a $60, $65 knife is not breaking the bank, okay? Trust me, you will fall in love with knives that are hundreds and hundreds of dollars. If you wanna invest a little bit of money and get something that's really nice that will last many, many years, you maintain it, you learn how to sharpen, this is an awesome place to start, okay? If you want something a little bit smaller, that's where the Delica comes in, or other similar knives. But it's really, really hard to beat a Spyderco Endura, especially the FFG versions, at about a $65 price tag. This is a phenomenal knife. It's a little bit more blade than some people like. Some people do like the smaller knives, okay, maybe just the size of your hand or just what you're using it for, but it's an extremely capable knife. It is a phenomenal phenomenal slicer. Just really good performance. The finish is fantastic. The FFG models, they came out with a bunch of different colors. In fact, some of the colors are cheaper than other ones. I think it's like 60 bucks if you get the blue one. It's not quite as popular, and like the green. Basically, they have the gray, which is what you're looking at here in comparison to the black. Okay, it's much lighter. You can see it is gray. They have a brown one, which is different. That's cool just because it's different. Brown, blue, purple, orange, of course, standard black. They have a green, which is kind of a lighter green, and I think that's it. They have a dark green, but it's not VG10. These are all VG10. I think that's the ZDP 189. It's like a, I think they call it British racing green. But anyway, it just comes in a slew of different colors that can fit anyone's needs, whether you're a woman and maybe you want something purple or orange, or maybe you just like the other colors for whatever reason. It's just a pretty cool little line of knives. And like I said, it's really hard to beat for performance compared to price. The VG10 that's on these, a very good steel. I've talked to it many, many times. Definitely up there with some of the favorable steels among the knife community. As far as the size here, again, the Enduras will be larger. This has a 3 3/4 inch blade. Closed, it's 5 inches. Makes it 8.5 or 8 3/4 inches open. Still very lightweight in my opinion at 3.4 ounces. The FRN has the bi-directional pattern in it. Super grippy, but it's not uncomfortable, you know, when you're barehanded. Lots of jimping all over the place. Just a really, really awesome EDC knife. Now you can see that there's no pocket clip on this. This does, of course, come with a pocket clip, but I've been EDCing this one in this custom holster that I've had for many years now, just because I like it that way. But yeah, these are awesome, awesome knives. I highly, highly recommend any of the Enduras or the Delicas, but the FFGs really do. It really is kind of the next generation of things. I mean, why not? Why not pick the better performing blade over the traditional? You know what I mean? Even though, like I said, even if you got, you know, I'm comparing two different things here because they're two different knives, but you know, the old style grind is great. There's nothing wrong with it, but why not pick the better version? You know what I mean? It is really better, and you can tell the difference, you know, from going from using, you know, Enduras and Delicas, the old ones, for so long, and then getting one of these in my hand, you know, to test and use. It really does make the difference. These are ridiculously sharp out of the box, just great slicers, really, really awesome EDCs that won't break the bank. I know there's a lot of Spydercos that people like, you know, the militaries and the paramilitaries, and you know, they're awesome knives, and I'd recommend all of them, of course. There's a slew of them. I love, you know, the Native. I mean, the list goes on and on. But a really, really awesome place to start is an Endura FFG. Pick the favorite color you want. Under 70 bucks for pretty much all of them. And, you know, you have a great reference point. Things you might not like about it, of course, you can consider that with your next knife purchase, you know. If you find the handles a little bit thin, maybe you want to try a Griptilian. It's a much chunkier knife, you know, and so forth. But it's a great starting place for an EDC blade. I know there's a lot of people sending messages all the time. They maybe subscribe to the channel for one thing, and they find they're starting to enjoy other hobbies, like getting into knives, and they want to get a good knife to use. And this is one I recommend quite often. And I would say the FFG is the better choice. Although the old ones aren't bad at all, you know, to me, doesn't make sense to get the old one. Now, if they have something better, why not go with that? Some people may argue that it's a little bit of a loss in strength in the blade, and I would say that the people with the FFGs have no issues whatsoever with the blade being weak. You don't see anything, you know, any stories about these snapping or breaking because the grind changed. You know, it's just a better performing grind, period. So, big fan of them. So that's all. Just wanted to do a quick video on this. I do have more in-depth, you know, talking about this design and stuff like that in other reviews, but, you know, for all intent and purposes, the knife's the same. It's just a slightly larger hole and a different grind on it, but it makes the world of a difference. So there you go. My review of the Gen 4 Spyderco Endura FFG. Hope you guys enjoy the review. I'd love to read the comments down below. If you have these knives, let everyone know what you think of them so they can read your opinions as well. And I hope you guys have a great day. I'll see you soon. Take care.